The nightmares began in 1991. After a lifetime of mundane dreams, Nova Scotia farmer Bruce Whittier began to have disturbing nocturnal visions of Nazi concentration camps and mass murder that placed him at the center of it all. Bruce didn't know what it all meant until he began to suspect that he might have lived before. Time has always played tricks on Bruce Whittier. This Nova Scotia farmer says he always had a strange relationship with time. Since boyhood, he has had no sense of time, and now, at age 35, he thinks he may know why. The first clues came to him in 1991 after a series of disturbing dreams of another man in another time.
Without a doubt, it was not me. It was another man and his wife and two children, an older gentleman and a dog. I couldn't connect who these people were. They didn't make any sense to me whatsoever. That I remembered it was necessary to go into a hiding place because we were Jewish people, and going into the basement and into like a root cellar.
The dreams were different every night. First he was hiding, then crying, then dying.
I remember being shot in through the back and falling into the trench, and then other people falling on top of me. I then realized that I actually didn't die from being shot, that I died from suffocation because of the bodies on top of me.
In 1994, Bruce Whittier contacted Rabbi Yonasan Gershom. The rabbi had written a book about people who believe that they are the reincarnation of Jews who died during the Holocaust.
I saw them as perfectly normal stories. You see, we have many stories of people reincarnating from disasters and wars and persecutions in Jewish history from other centuries. And so for me, it was not anything sensationalist for them to say they might have died in the Holocaust and reincarnated. Many people are not aware that Hasidic Jews do believe in reincarnation.
The fact that Bruce Whittier was raised as a Christian is not surprising to Rabbi Gershom.
What I believe happened in the Holocaust is that so many Jews were killed at once, and entire family lines were destroyed, that these people could not come back in their own village or their own family line. So they sought out the nearest body they could find.
Bruce's acceptance that he might be one of these chosen people is linked to a clock from his dreams.
It was black, tall, very quiet, and you'd have to listen so still just to hear it even tick. It was as if it was there to keep us company, as well to that no one would find us because it was so quiet. At the last part of the dream, I was told that this clock was now in Canada, and it could be found at a new antique shop that had opened on our Route 1, which is our main road in the valley.
Bruce followed the directions in his dream. He entered the shop. The clock was there.
As he was on the phone telling me about this, I felt shivers go up my spine. It was an amazing story. That here was a man who had dreamed of a clock from Europe in another life and found that clock in an antique store by following directions in the dream.
He found the clock, but could not afford to buy it. Later, it would come to him through a strange twist of fate, only one of many eerie connections in Bruce's dreams.
At one point, he thought in the dream that he smelled chicken cooking in the camp. Later on, of course, it was revealed that this was the smell of the bodies in the crematoria. But as a Nova Scotia goat farmer who didn't know much about Judaism, the only thing he could identify that meat smell with was chicken cooking. So this is a common pattern. It will begin with dreams that are extremely frightening. They have Holocaust imagery.
Bruce had never even thought about the Holocaust until he started dreaming about it in vivid detail. And now he couldn't get the genocide out of his mind.
What I remember is being taken to a place outside of the camp, my wife and myself, and being taken and stood along a trench, and we had no idea what was in the trench until we actually were made to stand there. And when you looked down in the trench and saw the rest of the bodies, you knew what was going to happen. And then I remember being shot through the back and falling into the pit. And that was the end of my dream. It was an absolutely devastating feeling to know that you actually were being somebody else and you were being shot and you were actually dying.
Soon after his meeting with Rabbi Gershom, Bruce agreed to undergo a past life regression with hypnotherapist George McAdoo.
I speak direct to your subconscious mind, and I'll say, I want you to move back to that event. And that tunes the subconscious mind to that particular time. And you go right back to that event again. Your mind is relaxed and you are beginning to feel at peace. And you are giving yourself permission mentally now to drift deeper and deeper into your own hypnotic sleep.
I was nervous. I thought if my dreams were that intense and left me feeling fearful and scared and teary-eyed, what is this going to do if it opens up all the doors and reveals things to me that I'm not sure I'm really ready to accept or even to see?
What is happening here today where you are?
It's a telegraph office.
What are you hearing on the telegraph?
Messages of war.
How do you feel about this?
Worried and scared. I can leave, but I'm staying. I want to know what's going on.
Next, Bruce Whittier recalls his own death.
You can't move because of the pain.
In 1991, Bruce Whittier began to have bizarre nightmares about the Holocaust, dreams in which he was a Dutch Jew named Stefan Horowitz, imprisoned in a Nazi death camp. It wasn't until Bruce talked to Rabbi Yonossim Gershom that he began to believe that he was not only dreaming, he was also remembering a past life. Under hypnosis, Bruce is about to recall his own assassination.
You could hear them at the door upstairs. You hear them banging at the door, and they just push the door, and you could hear it open. But they don't find anybody, and we're safe now.
Under hypnosis, Bruce calls himself Stefan Horowitz and describes his family's futile struggle to survive.
How long do you stay here?
For more than 2 weeks.
2 weeks. That's a long time. You don't even come out at any time for those 2 weeks?
Very carefully, yes. Nighttime.
What is happening today where you are, Steph?
I'm outside with the dog. I'm just walking around.
What happens next?
The dog's sensing something. These men are there. They yell at me. They're in German.
What do you say?
I said, what?
What do you feel?
I can't tell you. It's different. It's panicky.
And what happens?
One of them grabs at me. And he's saying something that I've done wrong. And he shoots the dog.
Shoots the dog?
Yes. He shoots my dog. I'm being hit
Where did they strike you?
around the head and face. And they move the sacks to find them. I didn't tell them.
No, once they found you there, they would have found the place. What happens now?
They take us all. And they shove us. They push.
Where do you go?
There's a truck, and they make us crawl in the truck, and they drive away.
We went on to when he was captured by the Germans, and his family was taken by truck and then by train to the camps. And we had a short glimpse of the camps. Then we moved to the last day of his life. What is happening, Stefan, and where are you?
We're walking out of the camp. There are many of us, but they have brought us back together, husband and wives, and we're leaving. There are military on horses. My clothes are so baggy and they've fallen down.
Continue.
You see what's happening. People are going into the pit. But you can't see because of the people in front of you.
It's your time.
You come to the edge and you're standing there and you look in and you see people. Just people. Lots of people.
At the point when he was about to be shot in the regression, he panicked and he could feel what was coming, and he tensed as if he actually had been shot according to the description. You could hear his voice on the tape become tense, and he started gasping, having difficulty breathing.
I feel a sharp pain in my back. And I fall into this trench, and you can't move because of the pain, because there's people falling on top of me.
Move out of the body and tell me what it feels like as you lift out of the body.
Oh, there's so many people that are going up. As you see this light, it's so bright. There's rays of blue light that are coming. They're so bright.
He described his soul leaving the physical body and going up into the next world. And then he says, I'm not hungry anymore. And this, to me, again, is a very authentic detail, because the immediate realization as he enters the gates of heaven is that he's no longer hungry and he's no longer cold. And if he were making up the story, that would not likely be the first thing you would say upon being in the gates of heaven. Another interesting thing, he saw a blue light in the next world and was mystified as to why it was a blue light, because in this life he had read in books, etc., that it should be a white light, it should be a yellow light. Well, in Jewish mystical tradition, the light is a blue light. And considering that his own background is some kind of fundamentalist Christian, he didn't see angels with harps, he didn't see Jesus, he didn't see those stereotypical things. He saw what I believe Stefan Horowitz would have expected to see, a very Jewish model of heaven.
Before, it plagued me every day, wondering, is this really real? Is there more to it? Why? You know, all the questions that one normally would ask. And it wasn't until actually the regression therapy that I now have a real sense of peace. I feel grounded. I know where I'm going, and I know where I've been.
Bruce Whittier believes he now understands his place in time, that he is a link in a cosmic chain that has no beginning or end. And what of the clock in his dreams? The clock he found but could not afford to buy. That, too, found its place.
It's my belief that it was the will of God that he have this clock returned to him. Now, the clock itself was a very expensive antique that Bruce could not afford to buy. And as I began to tell the story in conferences around the country, people began to pass the hat and collect money to ransom the clock. And so the clock now sits in Bruce's home.
It certainly has increased my belief in the spirit world. And without their help and the guides and those that are dealing with us on the other side, that there was no way that clock would arrive. Their divine hand had to be on that clock, as well as on me, to be able to dream those dreams and then eventually receive that clock.
The Jewish people have survived. Jewish culture has survived. Judaism is flourishing. The Nazis did not succeed in destroying that. And so those who still have pain from that other life can find much healing in finding out what it was that they gave their lives to preserve.
Bruce Whittier's claim that he is the reincarnated spirit of a Holocaust victim is not an isolated case. Bruce is part of a growing phenomenon that Rabbi Gershom and others are just now beginning to explore. Sightings will bring you more stories like Bruce's on upcoming editions of our program.